I had a feeling there'd be more transfer portal news to talk about today. Sure enough, in the last 24 hours, quite a bit of it. Some good, some bad. But that's transfer portal season, folks. Get used to it. That's kind of how it goes this time of year.
That's the way it works. And I would even say the bad news is ultimately equal to what I expected it to be. It just happens in a way that makes you feel gross, but the result is the same. So I would still say net positive over the last 24 hours when it comes to Mizzou in the portal.
Okay. I hope you're right for the entire cycle, though. We shall see. We'll talk about the major loss that the Tigers are suffering, one that maybe they were expecting to lose anyway, but maybe not in this fashion. We'll talk about it here in a few minutes. We'll also talk about the good, the bad, and ugly from NFL Week 18 as the regular season is in the books and we get set for the playoffs. We'll talk about what we thought was good, bad, and ugly from this past weekend, and also talk about the Chiefs again. And look, Matt Nagy is out of a contract. He is interviewing for the Titans job, it would seem, or at least it's been requested to be interviewed. Should there be some possibilities that the Chiefs look at for their offensive coordinator position this time around? There's one possibility that just became available today, it seems. Brendan, you think?
I don't know who that is, but I guess you'll tell me. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was largely obvious with the news of the day in the NFL, but we'll get to it either way. And also, Brian Smith of Mizzou Wrestling joins us today. Tiger Style Wrestling had a great weekend at the Soldier Salute in Iowa. We'll talk about that. 3 individual champions. They got the team title. 5:45, Brian Smith joins us. The injury expert, Will Carroll, also joins us at 4:25. Call or text us at 875-KTGR. You can also tweet us at KTGR Big Show. We're live on YouTube right now, youtube.com/@KTGR Sports, and also on Facebook, facebook.com/KTGR Big Show.
Now, the Big Show's Big Deal.
Here's the good news from the last 24 hours in the transfer portal. Mizzou landed officially, it would seem, Austin Simmons. Reportedly from Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports, Simmons has signed with Mizzou, so it's good to at least have that on the dotted line for Austin Simmons, as he was expected, as reported last week, to join the Tigers in their quarterback room. Tigers also added a linebacker out of Auburn, Robert Woodyard Jr., who had an excellent season last year for the Auburn Tigers, was named an All-SEC selection by Pro Football Focus. But an exit out, it would seem, from Mizzou's defense. Defensive end Damon Wilson II is reportedly entering the transfer portal. Mizzou's sack leader last season. He was considering the NFL draft, so it seemed that Mizzou might have lost him that way, but might be that he just joins a different college team. And that is the Big Show's Big Deal on this 6th day of January, 2026. You can call or text us here at 573-875-KTGR. Does it feel, Brendan, worse that Damon Wilson is leaving, it would seem, in this fashion? Or is it kind of like, well, you were expecting to have to replace him anyway because he was maybe going to decide to go to the NFL draft, or maybe he's still trying to make that decision. Who knows? And he wants to keep all options open, including maybe going to a different college team. I just wonder if it hurts a little bit more based on what Mizzou was trying to approach this transfer portal cycle with in regards to him.
Yes, it hurts more, but it's the same result. I think he was, in my head, I was already kind of counting on him being gone. Would have been a nice boost to get him back. And then knowing that he's going to play at another college rather than go to the NFL is, part of the reason that you're a little bit extra frustrated, because in that way it's like, oh, he was attainable to have kept him. And, Mizzou's not going to do that. It also could be, though, that, financially Mizzou had an offer out there and it was a big one. And if they were going to have to go beyond that to keep him, would it even be worth it relative to being able to spend in other spots? So the result is the same. He's not going to be a Tiger. It just feels like a little irksome because you're like, well, he didn't go to the pros and we weren't able to retain him.
And look, he has time still to decide whether he wants to go to the pros. I think the deadline to enter is almost, I think it might be the same day as the portal closes. So maybe he chooses, like, I wanted to see what other schools might offer me before I actually go to the NFL draft. Who knows? But if he does go to another school, I mean, Brendan, I would imagine that he is likely to stay in the SEC because he can play just fine in this conference as he showed this year. And so that might be the tough part, is that potentially if you're Mizzou, you might be going up against him next year. Like, quite possibly. I don't think that would have been the case with a lot of Mizzou's transfers. Now, it does seem that that's going to be the case for Marquise Johnson going to Mississippi State. It would appear. It's fine. It's just, again, he will end up playing Mizzou again. They'll go to Starkville for, I believe that's Mizzou's SEC opener. I think Josh, I don't know if he's found a landing spot just yet, but we'll see what that ends up being for him. But mostly, Mizzou will lose players that they probably don't see again, at least next year. I think there's a very real possibility that Damon Wilson probably stays in the SEC if, in fact, he's going to go to a different school.
Yeah, for a big bag of money. And, that's how he got here in the first place. So that's just the nature of the business. But that's part of the reason why it's less appealing than if we had found out, hey, he's going to go to the pros. Like, that would be a good feeling, because then you're able to say, hey, look, this is another player that Eli Drinkwitz sends on to the NFL. I don't know if he wasn't getting quite the grades, that he had hoped to in terms of being a first or second round pick. And obviously the money is going to be good at the collegiate level. So yeah, it's a bummer. But like I said, I think still you're in the net positive in terms of, the last 24 hours in the portal, because I expected him to go. I didn't expect it to be to another school, but I didn't think Mizzou would have him next year, and they won't. But they did get a linebacker from Auburn that I think we can be pretty excited about.
No, that's a good one. Robert Woodyard Jr., who wrecked Mizzou last year. In that game, he had something like 4 tackles for loss, which I think accounted for like half of his season total at least. And he was excellent and has shown that all season long. Pro Football Focus named him an all-SEC selection, but he's a Mizzou Tiger now. And you can put him right next to Nick Rodriguez, and you've at least got your starters at linebacker. Filling in the depth will be the question now. I mean, Mizzou does return a good amount of younger linebackers that saw a little bit of time last year, so I think you at least give a couple of those guys a chance to join the rotation. Maybe you add one more transfer, but I think they're almost set at linebacker. I would almost want them to devote the rest of their resources elsewhere, because there is a lot of work still to do with rebuilding this defense. The Damon Wilson news notwithstanding, there's a lot of other spots where you need to add starter level talent. And Mizzou started with that by getting the linebacker position set. So now it's just about trying to allocate the rest of those resources as evenly as you can, as smartly as you can, to have a defense that was what it was last year.
Yeah. And I think that there will have to be more days of good news. Hopefully the bad news is kind of stopped when it comes to the defense. I don't know how much worse it could get than just about everybody leaving. But being able to bring guys in and replenish is exactly what Eli Drinkwitz did last year at this time. And I continue to think that he is in the process of doing it for the upcoming season. And so, exciting opportunities, because again, as much as Damon Wilson was a really impactful player, he was making a lot of money, and now you don't have to wait around and kind of be held hostage by the willy, the won't. The reports have come out that there hadn't really been communication. They hadn't heard from him in recent days. And so that kind of tells you that it was getting to that point. And it is what it is. Like, it happens now, still very early in the portal process, where they're able to go and throw their weight around, I think, when it comes to finding edge rushers to throw money at and replenish that production.
Yeah, Dan's text here, 875-KTGR, if you want to chime in. Is there a world where Wilson is shopping what he's worth on the open market and may come back? He may be asking for a number that's unattainable elsewhere. I would think,
no.
If it were me running, I don't have the insider info on this, but if it were me running the books on how do we rebuild Mizzou's roster, and namely the defense through the transfer portal, I don't think I'm changing my offer on Damon Wilson. and joining a bidding war that other schools might hop in on. I think my offer is my offer, and you want it, great. But if you can get more elsewhere, I think Mizzou's in a spot where they need to be a little more smarter with how much they devote to one particular player, especially on defense, because you have, again, so many spots to fill in the matter of this month, essentially. So,
yeah, I would say that that's not happening. He won't be back at Missouri. I think we could always think that way because we don't know. We're not in those, those meetings or those conversations of actually how does it work behind the scenes. But I imagine he enters the transfer portal because he has an idea what he's getting from somebody to do it. In theory, right? You don't start talking to the teams until you're in the portal. It doesn't actually work that way. And I'm not saying that like anybody's doing anything nefarious. Like we got a comment here on YouTube from Samuel who said I've heard that Miami is the leader to land Damon, which would be great because I think he's a really good player. Would like to see him not in the conference anymore. Says that a recent mock draft had him going in the late third, early fourth. And so that would be like prime territory to make your millions of dollars potentially one more year in college and then raise your draft stock to be able to go in next year as potentially a second or first round pick. Like that's the goal from the players side of it. But no, I think if a guy's entering the portal, we give it almost disproportionate attention to the idea that, well, they could still come back. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So it's not
very rarely. Usually you, and certainly when you have so many offers that you can pit against each other, and a lot of it is the agents, like the agents getting in the ear of the kid saying, "Hey, I know that I can get you this much. Hop in the portal, and we'll make it happen." I'm not saying that was the case with Damon Wilson. We don't know. But
probably, I'll say that it was the case. Like, that's just the way it works.
But I don't know what it is as far as like the NFL draft and how that compares to it. Like I'm sure a lot of different factors when it came to this particular case. But for now, like Mizzou has to be smart with making sure that they rebuild this roster in the way that allows you to fill out what you need on offense too, because you still need, I think, a couple more wideouts. They did get the guy from Cincinnati yesterday. He committed, Caleb Goody.
He's almost a direct Marquise Johnson replacement as well in terms of like the downfield speed,
right?
Which is good. I mean, that's you want somebody capable in that role. But yeah, they'll need more. I think Mizzou probably, as the days go by and they are like, here's the offer to Damon Wilson. We're hearing radio silence. Like you start to put together those contingency plans of like, okay, it doesn't seem like this is going to end up going our way. I would have to imagine that they start looking in those other directions. And it is what it is. Like this is the first one that hurts because you were like, oh, there's a guy that if he comes back, your defense immediately is, closer to what we just saw it as last year. But like I'm more pumped about Woodyard than I am bummed about Damon Wilson because I think they'll probably take that Damon Wilson money and they'll throw it at another edge rusher who will be very impactful as well. Like
so here's the thing. This is why it hurts more because I am less confident that you can find a player as good as Damon Wilson compared to some of the other positions that Mizzou has lost transfers at. Like, yeah, they just replaced Marquise Johnson with Caleb Goody. I think that's pretty clear. I think they can probably do the same with Josh Manning, maybe with Marvin Burks too. But I am less confident that you find for sure a defensive end that immediately replaces the same kind of production that Damon Wilson did this past year. Like he led them in sacks. He had like 10 sacks this year. And so like that doesn't grow on trees. You do need to, and the fact that you need, I think, multiple starting defensive ends to put into your room at least.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, so you think Darius Smith starts this year?
No, I mean, I think that's a possibility. I think you've had other guys that were part of the rotation that, are guys who are re-signing as well that, could potentially level up into more prominent roles. So, yeah, I think there's another defensive end in that room that probably can step into a starter's role if you had to, or it's a case where the guy that you signed to replace Damon Wilson, you're not spending Damon Wilson money on that player, even if that's your starter. And then you rotate a little bit more with your depth. I think they've got a good thing going with edge rushing and the defensive line to where I think that some of the guys that have re-signed are going to probably make an impact there as well.
Call or text us at 875-KTGR with your thoughts on the latest Mizzou transfer portal news. Damon Wilson entering the portal, so it seems he's on the way out of Mizzou. Of course, they did officially, according to the reporting from Matt Zenitz, sign Austin Simmons to join for next year, so that's good news as well. Let's go to Paul here on the KTGR hotline. Paul, what you got?
Hey, guys, Happy New Year. Y'all do a great job. Yeah, I just want to see if you all could comment on, I'm 67 years old. I know that's not a good number for Andy, but, the Missouri program, 8-4 last year. They didn't beat a team that had a 500 record. So, that's so-so. But for the older MU fans, Indiana was nothing, and now they're playing in the playoffs. I think the future's now for some of the older MU fans. We want a winner, but after watching the playoffs, these teams that are winning look like on a much higher level than what Missouri is right now. And Drinkwitz is getting paid a lot of money, so I hope we can see some improvement next year, even though there's going to be a big turnover. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, appreciate the call, Paul, here on the Big Show. Well, I think you're on to something. Now, here's the thing. Indiana has done this because, A, they've got a great coach. Like, I think we know that by now. And B, look like they are spending a lot now. Like, because they've all of a sudden, Kurt Signetti has injected that belief into the entire fan base in a very short amount of time, which just adds to the impressive job that he's done. But, like, all of the money is coming in there, it would seem. Same with Texas Tech, who, like, they were just out of the semifinals of the playoff this year, but the fact that they were in, like, they got a bye and rose up to it and probably will be in a similar position next year because they already got their quarterback figured out. Like, it is a lot about money now. Mizzou can still do it with the amount of money that they've got, which is still a good amount. It's not the high roller amount, though, right? At least not yet. Maybe you were able to build it up to that point, but I don't know. It's not my money, obviously. So there's that aspect of it. You still need to work to build a playoff contender with what you got. But I would agree with kind of Paul's second point to that because Eli Drinkwitz got the extension, and he's got more money now for himself and presumably more money to use to build up this program, whether he actually has it in hand or there's a handshake agreement. Yeah, it's going to be there. Like, okay, go and do it. Doesn't mean that it has to happen this year, but I think the fact that you gave him this type of extension means that Mizzou's administration and probably the fan base as an extension of that believe that it needs to happen at some point soon.
Yeah, I definitely think that there, needs to be a roster that they're putting out for next year that they believe genuinely can contend at the top of the conference and, be in that mix for a 10-win season, even if the schedule does ramp up. Like, I don't think that's a crazy set of expectations. And I think it's the roster they're going to have in 2 weeks from now. Like, we're going to look at the team and we're going to say, yeah, it's a really tough conference, but there were additions made. I think the Woodyard signing is significant. And if you're looking at last year's Auburn team and you go, man, that their defense was really good. You start taking players from their defense, I'm going to say you're doing something right. So I still have the mentality of wait till the portal is kind of through and see where you stand at that point. The fact that they've already gotten, got to be one of the top linebackers in the portal. They've gotten the quarterback that they identified, whether Austin Simmons ends up being, and now that that's official, whether he ends up being the answer, obviously time's going to tell, but that is seemingly who they went out and sought after and wanted to land to be kind of the centerpiece of this portal class at the most important position in sports in the toughest league in the sport. So they're doing some things right already. And you can't get everybody to assimilate. And that's why I think Eli Drinkwitz is really pushing the new way, the Mizzou way mantra that he's kind of getting out there in recent weeks, is because if you're not on board with that type of thing, and if it's just about the money for you, then that's not, Mizzou is going to be about a little bit more than that. And so for better or worse, Damon Wilson fits into that category where it's like, all right, he's going to go chase the bag, is what it is. Missouri football will continue to exist after him. And you'll use that in the same way that I think when Bo Pribula transferred, it was like, oh, wow, now we really know they've got to get a transfer quarterback. But it's also, freeing up a lot of money to be able to do some of the things that they want to do. So Wilson certainly more productive than Bo was this past season, and so it does sting from that perspective. But I think in the aggregate, they're still going to be able to field the team. Like, does it mean they end up being able to throw a little bit more money at one of the big offensive tackles and say, hey, this is actually the way that we're going to do things? We're going to win a little bit more similar to the way Ole Miss won this year. We've got their quarterback that they started the season with, and you'll have the best 1-2 punch of running backs in the country. And you'll have Donovan Olubade, you'll have the Speedy Johnson replacement, you'll have Brett Norfleet, and maybe one more receiver that's going to be a starter caliber name. And you're going to bring Caden Green back. You're going to have a couple of offensive linemen return, and we're going to go get a big-time tackle in the portal to be, I guess, right tackle, if that's what they're looking for, to protect the blind side of the lefty quarterback. And you say, like, yeah, the defense is going to be, if it's going to be as good as it was this past year, it's going to be because guys that were depth pieces to that defense but decided to come back and develop, because that's what we're kind of forcing the issue on. Those guys are going to be stepping up into more significant playing time, and we like those guys for a reason. And more of those guys emerge come August. Maybe that's the way Missouri wins. And I wouldn't have a problem with that, to say, like, yeah, you know what? If the defense was a 9 out of 10 this past year, it's going to be more of a 7.5 out of 10 next year. But an offense that was very, very one-dimensional, if you told me that's the sacrifice you're making to make sure your offense has a lot of ways that they can beat teams and you can win games 28-27, instead of feeling as though, if a team gets to 27 on you, you might be screwed. Yeah. Like, I'd be okay with that outcome, Andy. And that might just be the way that they go about it. Or they'll sign some great defenders in the portal, and we'll have some offensive line questions when we get to August. Who knows?
And again, if you can build from the ball out on that, like, yeah, they've got linebacker set, at least from the starter spot. But I think still several questions that you have to answer along the defensive line. You've got some internal answers that can be in the mix, but now it becomes the question of, okay, who in the portal? And it's probably going to have to be multiple guys for both, like, for maybe you get one good D tackle, one good defensive end, and then maybe the depth pieces elsewhere to make sure that you've got enough guys to finish the season with. How are you able to build that out going forward? And then who's your Marvin Burks replacement? Who are your next two starting corners, whatever it is? I think in the order of operations, you try to figure that out as we go forward here. So now it's time to figure it out. Week and a half left until the portal closes, which even after it closes, like that's just when you have to be in. And you can still, like, chase guys and try to get commitments afterwards. So I think this will be a month-long process. I think if we're extending it out for what Mizzou is trying to do to build up its roster. You can call or text us at 573-875-KTGR with what you think about how the Mizzou roster stands now as they try to get more transfers in. Damon Wilson appears to be on his way out, according to the reporting earlier today. 573-875-KTGR to chime in on that. We'll turn to the NFL next and ask the injury expert Will Carroll about some of the key quarterbacks dealing with injuries during these NFL playoffs in this first weekend and how it might affect them in their matchups coming up. That's next with Will Carroll on The Big Show, KTGR.
The Big Show with Andy and Brendan continues next on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hey, y'all, it's Molly from Billiards. Everybody I know is happy to say goodbye to 2025. So we're hoping for a fix in 26. And we hope you'll come see us at Billiards. That may sound cheesy to some of y'all, but who cares? At Billiards, we love cheese. We love bacon, too. And cheese and bacon make everything better. We believe that to be true.
Look on down for burgers and beer. Billiards on Broadway.
We survived 25.
Hi, I'm Tom Connors. Went to Mark Patrick's hypnosis seminar February 6, 2019. Nothing worked before. Left there and never smoked again. Amazing. Easy, affordable, and guaranteed. A year later, with my wife, Michelle, attended Mark Patrick's weight loss seminar. She lost 18 pounds, and I lost 43 in 8 weeks.
It's true. He smoked 2 packs a day, and nothing worked until Mark Patrick Hypnosis. Now we're losing weight together, eating healthy, full on half the food, crazy, enjoying exercise, exercising. Who would have believed Mark Patrick hypnosis really works?
It's amazing. I can breathe again. My blood pressure went down, and I've got so much energy.
So much energy.
And look great.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99. Seminars Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
You're a merchant of all things that are man. Firearms, fishing, cars, food, sports. Yeah, the kind of stuff every man always needs more of. So show it off at the Mecca of Man. The 2026 Como Man Show, Saturday, March 14th at the Northeast Event Center where the Boone County Fair is held. It's the best and most fun way to show every man they need what you got. Seriously, by showing them. Bring your best stuff, show it off, and have a blast. For more info on being a vendor at the Man Show, go to ComoManShow.com.
It starts with one little itch. One tiny red spot you swear wasn't there yesterday. Probably just a mosquito bite, right? Then you see another. And before you know it, you're lifting the corner of your mattress and finding exactly what you didn't want to see. Bed bugs. And here's the thing about bed bugs. They don't care how clean your house is. They don't care if you just did laundry. So you've got two choices. You can ignore them, buy some over-the-counter spray and hope they decide to pack their bags, or you can call Steve's Pest Control and get real help from real locals. They're mid-Missouri born and raised. They know our weather, our homes, and our bugs. They know where they hide, how they spread, and most importantly, how to get rid of them for good.
Hi, I'm Steve with Steve's Pest Control. We're going to solve your pest problem. I guarantee it.
Now you got a friend in the pest control business. Steve's Pest Control.
Paradise doesn't have to be far away. Sometimes it's a quiet walk through a state park. Sometimes it's your favorite takeout and a night in. At Shangri-La, we believe that cannabis belongs in those everyday moments, not as an escape, but as part of living well. That's why we offer 20% off select category every day, plus 20% off store-wide every Sunday. Thoughtful products, honest guidance, real value. Shangri-La, discover paradise. Learn more at ShangriLaDispensaries.com.
Tired of calling Andy and Brendan? So are their wives. Then shoot them a text right now. 573-875-KTGR and become part of the Big Show.
We're back here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. Andy and Brendan here as we get set for the NFL playoffs starting this weekend and talk about the several injuries that could affect it now. With the injury expert, Will Carroll, you can find him on Twitter at Injury Expert and subscribe to his newsletter, undertheknife.substack.com, to get great insider info on baseball injuries, the offseason continuing for Major League Baseball, and we'll be at that season before we know it. But Will, let's talk football, and certainly the playoffs going to be on everybody's mind here very soon. But just a thought on a team that's not in it, the Chiefs. Pretty surprising that they're not, but the way that they played this year, it's deserving that they're sitting at home. And certainly the big injury that everyone will talk about this offseason is Patrick Mahomes and how his rehab will go. So it just, as you kind of see how that might play out and how it colors what the Chiefs do this offseason, what's the main thing that you look for from the Chiefs, from the injury perspective, they try to make what happened last year not happen again?
Well, let's see how they address the offensive line. That was a problem all year long. They just didn't have the weapons. They've got some bloated contracts. We'll see how those all play out. How do they reload with a quarterback who's, mid-career? Travis Kelce, we don't know where that's going to go. But with Mahomes, the best comp here, it's not a great one, but I think it is. It's Tom Brady. Tom Brady had his ACL. He came back, and he was still Tom Brady. I don't think there's going to be a significant change. Is he going to run a little bit less? Yeah, but I think they wanted that anyway. He took a bit of a beating. He's had injury problems in the past, nothing terribly significant, nothing he couldn't overcome. But this season, it was just the people around him having to do a little bit too much, and then one bad move, and the knee goes. That's all too common in the NFL. He should have no problem getting back. He should be back at or near the start of the season. He's always been a very good worker. The workouts he's done with Bobby Stroop are legendary. So I don't think that's going to be a physical issue for him. I think it's going to be what's the team around me going to look like?
And when it comes to the NFL playoffs, obviously no Chiefs, but a lot of teams that are kind of looking at some quarterback injuries this week. Will, what's your opinion on what happened with Brock Purdy toward the end of the game against the Seahawks? He got banged up a little bit.
Yeah, they're saying he had a stinger, and that's reasonable, especially given his previous elbow problems. And people are thinking, what does his elbow have to do with his neck and shoulder? Well, it's the same nerve. I mean, that nerve goes all the way down to your hand. He did have some scarring in that elbow that had to be cleared up after his initial procedure. Did that grab the nerve and make it just a little bit tighter? If it's tighter down there, well, it's just going to be tighter all the way along, making a stinger all that much more likely. And a stinger is just basically a shock to the nerve. And if it's tight, if it's extended, usually if you tilt your head to one side, your arm gets pulled the other way, that's when you get them. But it's not a bad thing unless they just keep happening. They certainly don't feel good at the time, but I don't think Purdy's going to have any issue with this.
Will Carroll, the injury expert here on the Big Show, KTGR, and the KTGR app. So as long as Purdy's going to be out there, it will matter still who's out there to support him. Guys like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle, who have been kind of dealing with injuries last couple of weeks or so. It looked like CMC was active this past weekend. We'll see on Kittle's status too, but just how you view the skill positions for the 49ers, who obviously all season long they've had to deal with injury after injury, and yet they're still here in this spot.
They are, which talks a lot to their talent. So I do think John Lynch has put together a heck of a team. Purdy has been one of those great, Tom Brady-like stories. He certainly doesn't have the numbers or the rings or the longevity yet, but he's been one of those late pick good guys that more and more teams need to find because more and more of those number one picks aren't working out. Hi, Colts. It's one of those issues where with McCaffrey, he's just always beat up. His legs are reasonably good right now, and that's what the big worry was last year with Kittle. He's always beat up. He's just a very physical player, and he's not very big. And he's big, but not big for a football player. And he's a little odd. There's a lot of players that you see, and I think probably the one that most people see is Jeff Saturday. Guys really, really, really have to bulk up to play in the NFL. It's not just muscle. They just have to weigh a certain amount. And they get out of the game and they shoot down. Kittle's going to be one of those guys because he would probably be naturally walking around 200, 210, and he has to bulk way up. And even if that's just mostly muscle, that's still weight to carry. I mean, take a backpack, put a 20-pound dumbbell in it, and walk around for a while. Your body's not going to feel good about it. He's a very flexible guy. His wife's a yoga teacher. So I think he'll be good, but his body is just not going to hold up long term, and it hasn't held up very well in the short term.
Will, on the other side of the bracket, I want to ask you about Josh Allen. He's been dealing with the foot injury for a while now, but this is really the opportunity, right? No Patrick Mahomes in the bracket, no Lamar Jackson in the bracket. What's the status right now for Josh Allen, and is he going to be able to take advantage of this situation with his Bills?
You would certainly think so, but this is probably the worst team he's had. They've had a lot of problems. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. James Cook has been pretty darn good. Great, I don't know, but good enough in that offense. So we'll see exactly how they can do. The playoffs are one of those places where a quarterback can, as Kansas City fans have seen, a quarterback can basically will the team along. And we'll see whether Allen can have one of those hero moments. The foot isn't that big a problem. They've been trying to heal this up. He obviously just played the one play. He pulled the Peyton Manning to keep his streak going. What happened was he got stomped on. A lot of people are saying that he has a sprain, that he has a stress reaction there. It talks to people, and it just turns out a couple of weeks ago he got stepped on. And it's not just that you're getting stepped on, it's that you're getting stepped on by a really big guy who has cleats on. That doesn't feel good. You have a bruise. That's probably what it is. They're not terribly concerned, but they want to make sure he's as healthy as he can possibly be to make this run.
Will Carroll, the injury expert here on the Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app. For that was obviously a situation where the Bills wanted to make sure Josh Allen was going to have some rest for Week 18. Packers did the same thing with Jordan Love. He was deemed active, but he was the backup in their Week 18 game. And so with him going up against the Bears once again, how do you see his injury affecting him as he tries to will the Packers to a win?
Yeah, it shouldn't affect him at all. I mean, once you clear the concussion protocol and he has extra time plus a full week of practice, he didn't clear the protocol until I think Thursday. So he wouldn't have had the full week, would have been in meetings, but still this one, he did have some lingering symptoms. So they'll watch him, make sure he's ready. They'll hopefully have Malik Willis, who's oddly turned into something of a quarterback controversy there. I think it'll be very, very interesting. You know, Ben Johnson has turned Caleb Williams into something in one season. So we'll have to see exactly how the Packers deal with that and kind of what their future is. They're going to have to make some really odd decisions this offseason.
It will be very interesting on that front. Now, for a defensive player and an important one at that, TJ Watt for the Steelers, they were able to just get by the Ravens to clinch their playoff spot. And Watt came back from the collapsed lung that had kept him out for a few weeks, I guess partially collapsed lung from the dry needling incident last month. So he was back out there, obviously. So it's not all that much worry as to whether he'll be active for the playoff game, but just how do you see that affecting him going forward, especially in this type of situation where he's in the playoffs and he's trying to be the stalwart of that defense still?
It shouldn't. There's two things here. First, lungs heal pretty well. I mean, you can cut a chunk of them off in situations like cancer, and you still have enough capacity so that you're not like struggling. The other thing is football is a reasonably anaerobic activity. It's not like they're out there holding their breath, but it's a burst sport. And especially for somebody like Watt, you see him, you know, it's 5-6 seconds of bursting towards the quarterback and running him over. And then 20 seconds of waiting. So can he recover? Don't know. I think they were very, very cautious with him just because of what had happened and how it happened and who had done it. If it was a player you didn't know, would they have made as big a deal out of it? No. So I think this is just the Steelers organization itself being cautious and making sure that Watt gets in there. You do have to think about, you know, just how close they were, that they needed to win. That's a weirdly constructed team, so we don't know what they're going to look like next year or who's going to be leading it. So just a whole bunch of odd things there, but I think TJ Watt's going to be one of the non-problems for them coming into this week.
Well, I want to ask you about the situation with J.J. McCarthy. Certainly not the season that he or the Vikings wanted for him. And then a little bit of weirdness with him not being able to finish out the game this last week. What was the actual injury he was dealing with? And how much does this kind of look into where the Vikings are with him as the season just didn't go the way they hoped it would his first year as a starter?
Yeah, that's the thing is you would think that him not being able to stay healthy is a negative, but they haven't yet told us exactly what it was. You know, he has that hairline fracture on his hand. Was that an issue for gripping it? You know, he lost the previous season to a relatively minor injury. Yeah, he had a meniscus tear. They repaired it rather than just cut it off. So that was kind of a decision that he was going to redshirt that year. But coming in this year, he just had a bunch of small niggling things. And you can take that two ways. You can say, well, you know, it's just bad luck. When you have a small fracture, when you have, you know, this, that, or the other thing, a concussion, you think those aren't going to necessarily recur. But you also have to think, is it always going to be something with this guy? And that's really one of those things. And that's why, you know, making these decisions is one of the tougher things because there's so many you know, people who will have an opinion. It'll be the medical people. It'll be the doctors who aren't always there. It'll be the coaches who usually are. So it's going to be a tough decision. It's not like they're going to dump him now and move on, but it's going to be one of those things that goes into that he's got to really be more healthy going into next year. And I'm curious to see how he addresses that. Is he going to go out and get a new trainer? Is he going to go out and do different things this offseason? We'll see how he addresses that because there are a lot of quarterbacks that have had problems early in their career, Purdy being one of them.
And then another young quarterback that goes into this offseason, not on a playoff team, but dealing with an injury that he suffered in the last game, Cam Ward, with the shoulder issue that he picked up as he scored that touchdown for the Titans, but he was unable to finish the game. So it seemed that there was better news that he's avoiding surgery for it, but how do you view that for the former number 1 overall pick?
I don't buy this at all. I think they're going to try to avoid surgery. But you can think back, Anthony Richardson had this same injury and had to have extensive surgery and just has never been the same with his arm. Lots of other issues as well. But for Ward, I'm really concerned about this one because this is not an injury that people come back from well. They come back from them, but it seems like it costs them something. Even with advanced procedures like Richardson has, we've seen other players have this kind of thing. It takes a couple of years. Even if you take a look at Aaron Rodgers, who had his was the Achilles, but they used the same kind of material to put his Achilles back together. It took him a couple of years. Part of that is that it was the Jets and Steelers. You can see the difference in ownership and how culture really, really matters. So I'm just curious because the Titans, they're going to have a new coach probably. They're going to have new people. And is Ward going to be ready for the season? Is he going to be able to do the kind of things you want a young quarterback, especially one without much experience, to do? He's got no experience coming back from these kinds. He's always been a very healthy player. There's that documentary on, I forget which service it is, but it's an interesting story. So I'm really curious to see how this one goes.
Will, what's new and under the knife?
Tons of stuff. Got an interesting one coming out on Friday that's about... Obviously, Venezuela's in the news, and there's 92 Venezuelan players and a lot more in the minor leagues. How is this going to affect them? Some are down there now. Visa situations are up in the air. So around baseball, people are watching Venezuela with more than a little interest.
That will be interesting as we get closer to spring training. So go and check out all that info from the injury expert, Will Carroll, undertheknife.substack.com. And great to have him here on the Big Show KTGR. Thanks, Will, for coming on. Hope you're well. We'll talk again soon.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, boys.
Big Show is on at 4:44, KTGR and the KTGR app. Just an FYI, Venezuelan players on the Cardinals include Pedro Paez, Joel Pozo, for the Royals, Salvi, Michael Garcia. So, I don't know. It's just making you aware. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a challenge, but I know it's one that baseball is probably very much already trying to get worked out ahead of spring training because, yeah, it will be something they have to deal with.
So, we'll watch that. And, of course, the NFL injuries that could pop up this weekend. Under the bus coming up next. Maybe some big NFL news to discuss when it comes to that, coming within the last few minutes or so. But also, Iowa State probably feels very irked today by them thinking they had their quarterback, and all of a sudden, no, they don't. That's next.
Now, your local sports center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good afternoon. I'm Andy Humphrey. Mizzou football learned of one transfer in and one transfer out today. Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports reported that the Tigers have signed Ole Miss quarterback Austin Simmons to join the Tigers for 2026. He is still expected to stick with Ole Miss through their playoff run. They play Thursday night in the semifinal against Miami. Simmons began as the starting quarterback for Ole Miss this season, got hurt in Game 3. Trinidad Chambliss finished the year as the starter. Meanwhile, Mizzou did learn of a transfer out. Damon Wilson II, their sacks leader at defensive end, reportedly entering the transfer portal. He was also considering entering the NFL draft. He came for just one season after transferring in from Georgia this past offseason. Your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with API Project Fitness. Former MU football players Terrell Jackson and Michael Egnew will take your fitness to the next level with group classes, personal training, and training for young athletes. Find your fire. APIProjectFitness.com.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a cold night as we'll see mostly clear skies. We'll see some patchy fog developing north of Highway 24 again. Lows falling down to about 33. Tomorrow's mostly sunny and beautiful with temperatures in the low to mid 60s. Tomorrow night, cloud cover starts to move in and rain showers move in from the south by Thursday morning. I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner, and that's your ABC 17 Storm Track forecast on your total sports station, KTGR.
High school hoops.
Switches on the crossover, Euro step inside, high off the glass and in.
At its best.
Catch it on the left wing, turns around and knocks down the three.
KTGR is your home for the best high school basketball matchups in Columbia. Follow the Cupies, Bruins, Spartans, and Trailblazers all season long on KTGR's High School Hoops Game of the Week. See the full list of game broadcasts on KTGR.com and listen on the go with a free KTGR app. High school basketball lives here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Okay, the limb is hanging over the driveway. I need this pruned.
Oh, call the electrician.
An electrician?
Yeah, or maybe your HVAC guy.
You've officially lost it. I need an expert in the right field.
Fine. Call that lawn company. They mow and prune.
Yeah, they also scalped your yard last summer.
When it comes to trees, trust the experts who actually know trees. Ones that are trained and educated for pruning, planting, and removals done right. Call Eric at Advanced Tree Solutions, your tree's best friend. AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sticklin-McDonald.
And I'm Charlie Sticklin with the Sticklin & Sticklin Law Firm.
And I'm Mizzou Softball's Natalie Touche. At Sticklin & Sticklin, all we do is personal injury.
We've earned millions for our clients since 1991.
On the diamond, I trust my team. Off the diamond, I trust Sticklin & Sticklin. Don't let the insurance companies strike you out. Let Sticklin & Sticklin go to bat for you. Sticklin & Sticklin, it's a home run.
You don't just sell, you connect. You listen, learn, and deliver. You build relationships that turn clients into partners. At Fuse 32, our people don't push products. They craft solutions. They anticipate problems before they even happen, and they fix them before anyone notices. If results and relationships, not excuses, drive you, then it's about time to join the team that never settles. Fuse 32. There's nothing we can't do. Apply now at Fuse32.com.
Another winter inside, looking at the snow in your yard that you can't write your name in because you didn't order your new deck from Crutch's Custom Exteriors in time. Don't look ahead to spring cleaning. You're ready for spring peeing and April showers with Freedom Stream Powers off your new Crutch's deck. They can build your pee platform in the winter so it's ready for you to splash your autograph in any springtime snow that's left. CrutchesCustomExteriors.com. True beauty is on the outside.
Guys like me that are born and raised in this area and are running a company here, we want to do things for the customers the right way.
Barry Rowe of True Sun Exteriors knows it's important to stay local.
Storm chasers that come into town or fly-by-night companies, they'll do things for less money than we will, but that's because they don't intend to do it correctly, and they certainly don't intend to fix it because they're going to be gone or out of business. They'll come into town and get a local phone number and a local PO address so they can say that they're local. Well, they're not local. It's extremely important, especially with roofs and windows and big projects, that you choose someone who cares about what's going on. You may pay a few $100s more for it, but it's better than saving a few $100s and then a year down the road having to redo the whole project again with someone local and just going through the headache of having to do that again and having all the issues.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
We're moving faster and faster these days with limited time to make an impact on potential customers. Hi, this is Jimmy at Pro Designs. For nearly 2 decades, we've worked with companies to build strong brands. At Pro Designs, our team can create a vehicle wrap to drive market share, growth, and profits. Connect with your customers on the go, on the road, and on the job site.
Visit us on the web at PRODEZIGNS.com.
Come see them at their locations in Eldon or Columbia off Rangeline Street and I-70.
Pro Designs, but better than a billboard.
If it's Mizzou sports, it's happening here. Now, back to the big show on KTGR.
All right, major domino in the NFL coaching market. John Harbaugh is, I guess, technically, if you want to call it, under the bus from the Ravens, but not all that unexpected. At the same time, I'm like, someone else is going to scoop him up immediately, right?
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah,
I would think so. But this was a bad year for the Ravens, and it felt like a year where like there was the pressure to take a step forward, and then they obviously in the most embarrassing way possible, take a step backward by losing the division on the final play of the regular season in the NFL. Yeah.
So that part, pretty tough, but we'll see how the Ravens try to improve from that and how another NFL team is going to, I think, improve by having John Harbaugh as their head coach. Under the bus to this situation, too, Kenny Minchey, former Notre Dame quarterback, was the backup all this year and entered the portal, committed to Iowa State, but then signed with Kentucky. Of course, they have a new head coach, and so they get their quarterback, and boy, Iowa State fans are mad. And I can't necessarily blame them. Like, when you hear the commitment, you're like, okay, cool, he's coming.
So I had seen Nebraska was where he was
my gosh.
going.
All right.
Than Iowa State.
Honk it on me first, yeah.
I was like, when you said Iowa State, I was like, I don't know what story he is teasing, but I will find out when we get there.
Red teams. That's all it is. That's all it was. Nebraska. Yes, Nebraska should feel hurt today. Will Compton in particular, like, put out a skinny post about it. Yeah.
It's funny.
And look, like, I don't blame Nebraska fans for feeling that way. And it's kind of why it's good news that Mizzou saw the news today of Austin Simmons. Okay, he signed. Like, something has been signed. It's no longer just a handshake agreement. Like, you could still feel good that Austin Simmons was going to be your quarterback next year last week when it was reported. But now something is signed, and so you can feel even better about it. So that whole situation over there, just tough for Nebraska. Nebraska got it right that time. But Kentucky's like, oh, cool. All right. We'll take him. And then
I'm sure they will.
Under the bus to the A's as well. Front Office Sports said today that they were denied trademarks to Las Vegas Athletics and Vegas Athletics. All right, so what's left? What's left? Where do you pivot to? A's?
Good question.
I don't know.
Good question. Can they just be the A's and drop the Athletics? Is that what they're going to do?
Maybe. Las Vegas A's just be... have the A just stand for nothing. That's just
there won't be anything behind it. That might be their play.
Maybe. Do you change the name entirely?
I think they change. I think they'll be the A's. I think that's what they'll go with.
Aces is already taken. Can't be the Las Vegas Aces. That's the WNBA team.
A's is very close to that too. Was that part of the reason for the issue? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Athletics was the part that was rejected. I don't know about the A's part, whether that's already been rejected or whatnot. Bottom line, this whole move has been haphazardly put together. It's not even like technically even official yet, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just hanging in the air, and it just makes it feel all that more slimy. I feel terrible for Oakland through all of this, and John Fisher is terrible and everything else. John Fisher's been under for quite a few things in this segment over the years. And yet another thing.
He's not a stranger to the segment by any means.
Brendan, did you watch the FCS title game last night?
I watched the part that mattered the most. I watched the end of it as I realized it was an overtime. And there was some excitement happening. Yeah.
I guess folks in St. Louis, maybe whoever was connected to Illinois State, I'm sure there's many that were hoping for the Redbirds to get it done there. But Montana State pulled it out with the touchdown and then getting the extra point because the extra point was blocked for Illinois State when they scored their touchdown in OT. So that's kind of heartbreaking. And then Montana State with an excellent 4th and 10 pass play to the end zone.
It was awesome. It was an all-out blitz.
Taco Dowdle, was that his name?
Sure.
A wide receiver named Taco. Won the FCS title for Montana State. Love it.
I think they rushed like 8 at the quarterback, and it was like, holy crap, get rid of it.
Yeah.
And he did. He got rid of it, and they scored the touchdown. It was very exciting.
Samuel here on our YouTube channel says, after watching last night's FCS title game, can MU get Dylan Lord to transfer from Illinois State?
I like the idea of that, just dipping into the FCS to get some studs. It's happened before.
Xavier Lloyd came from Illinois State this past year. He didn't play much this year, but there's at least that connection, right? There's the pipeline. Can still make it happen. But that was fun last night. A good end to the FCS title game. And we'll see what the rest of the college football playoff is going to have in store for us as viewers here. 573-875-KTGR if you want to call or text us. All right, up next, NFL Good, Bad, Ugly, Week 18. Of course, we'll work our thoughts in on John Harbaugh through that whole segment, I'm sure, while also talking about the games and what was good and bad and ugly in them and what's usually pretty ugly Week 18. Are there offensive coordinator possibilities out there for the Chiefs? It appears that one of them just left Washington. Maybe Chiefs look at that. Who knows? I hear that he's familiar with the Chiefs' current quarterback, that they know each other, have maybe worked together in the past at a college somewhere. I've heard that at least. Don't know for a fact, but is it a possibility? Would it be a possibility that you entertain? We'll talk about that at 525. And great weekend for Mizzou Wrestling, winning the Soldier Salute this past weekend in Iowa. Brian Smith, Mizzou Wrestling coach, joins us to talk about the success. Coming up at 545 on The Big Show.
Michael Agnew here with API Project Fitness. I understand that life is hard, and if you're soft, it will squish you. You must find a way to be hard. Armor yourself up mentally and physically and emotionally. Our goal is to help you find your inner strength and hardness. The difference between strength and weakness is choice. With our group fitness classes and personal training and open gym, the choice is yours. Choose strength. Find us at apiprojectfitness.com or call us at 573-268-6944 to make an appointment.
This is the year she gets an upgraded diamond, the year that dad finally gets his retirement watch, and the year that your daughter graduates, so you give her the necklace she's always dreamed of. Family Pawn is not your traditional pawn shop, but they are your secret to saving big on stunning jewelry for every occasion. Family Pawn, where you'll find timeless treasures for a fraction of the cost. FamilyPawn.com.
Not your traditional pawn shop. Family Pawn.
Hey, this is Lisa Stofan. Heard the Mark Patrick weight loss hypnosis hype? Well, I attended because my father stopped smoking with hypnosis. Hypnosis eliminated my desire for soda and fast food, made me want to exercise, and I lost 60 pounds in 6 months. My energy level exploded. I went to another session to deal with some other problem foods, and I lost another 10 pounds. In fact, I brought my husband, and he lost weight, and his cholesterol and blood pressure improved. My friend lost 20 pounds her first 2 months.
Oh my, what are you waiting for? Lose the weight or stop smoking with Hypnosis, guaranteed only $59.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings, late day eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. That's right. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis 5:30. Stop smoking hypnosis 8 o'clock. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
KTGR AM Columbia, KTGR FM Fulton Columbia, K286CL Columbia, in Missouri's total sports station. KTGR.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news, the run of the most successful coach in Ravens franchise history is over. John Harbaugh is out in Baltimore. His exit comes 2 days after the team was eliminated from the playoffs for the first time since 2021 at the hands of the AFC North rival Steelers. Multiple teams with head coaching openings now expected to shift to Harbaugh, believes ESPN NFL analyst Dan Orlovsky.
If I was the Arizona Cardinals, I would hire John Harbaugh tonight. There's going to be a lot of teams interested in him. The Giants, obviously, Atlanta, obviously. But Arizona, there just feels like there's pieces there that if you just get it all together and you get a competent quarterback play, you're gonna build a winning organization.
Dan Orlovsky on Freddie and Harry. In 18 years in Baltimore, Harbaugh 193 wins and a Super Bowl title in 2012. The Lions, after one season, fired offensive coordinator John Morton. Head coach Dan Campbell took over play calling duties from him after a Week 10 loss. NHL Rangers goalie Igor Shesterkin on IR with a lower body injury.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive Commercial Insurance flexes to fit your business's needs, from quick repairs to adjustable coverages and even payment options. Progressive Commercial makes it easy to get what you need. Quote today in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
From Faro,
15 to the 10, to the house.
Bush,
Back to the wall. And it's got her.
and Arrowhead.
Touchdown! Kansas City.
To your speakers.
This is the big show, baby.
Get fresh takes on the biggest sports stories in mid-Missouri. Right now, this is The Big Show with Andy and Brendan on KTGR.
Week 18 is always an adventure across the NFL. We're still finding out some of the fallout from the coaches that maybe in Week 18 or throughout the season didn't do their jobs. So firing still ongoing. John Harbaugh gets the axe from Baltimore after the crazy finish on Sunday night. But you can tell us what else you found good, bad, and ugly from Week 18 across the NFL as we then shift our focus to the playoffs this coming weekend. We'll talk a little Chiefs at 5:25. Andy's already doing some dot connecting with a personnel move that happened in Washington, D.C. today as the Chiefs potentially look to fill an OC role this coming year. Could there be a reunion in store for Patrick Mahomes and one former coach of his? And then before we get out of here today, we'll talk with Brian Smith of Mizzou Wrestling. It's all coming up on the show. 573-875-5847 to weigh in. But first, it's 5 o'clock.
It's time for the Top 5 at 5 on The Big Show. Number 1.
If you want to trade away for curtain number 1, you can have curtain 1.
So good news first for Mizzou in the transfer portal. Austin Simmons is signed. That's the report from Matt Sienitz of CBS Sports earlier this morning. Always good to have something signed. If you look at the situation involving Nebraska and Kentucky and former Notre Dame quarterback Kenny Minchie, well, yeah, you want to have something signed. And it seems that Austin Simmons has that now. He'll still stick with Ole Miss through the playoff run, but join Mizzou afterwards, and that should be a boost to the quarterback room. Also, Robert Woodyard Jr., stud linebacker from Auburn, had an excellent season this past year. His final year of eligibility will be spent as a Missouri Tiger. You can fit him right next to Nick Rodriguez as a starting linebacker, and you've got your starters set. Maybe you add one more for depth, who knows, but I think you like some internal options there. So a good start, at least, for the defense that needs a lot of work added in the portal because...
Number 2.
Number 2, your timing is impeccable.
Mizzou was probably expecting to lose Damon Wilson II anyway. He was maybe going to go to the NFL draft. Probably still could, but it seems that if he's going to come back to college, it's going to be at a different school, as he reportedly entered the transfer portal today. The reporting out there was that there had been kind of radio silence between Mizzou and Wilson over the last week or so, and that's when he kind of realized, like, hey, maybe he's looking at other places to go. Huge loss. I don't know if you find a one-for-one replacement for sure in the transfer portal for him, but how will Mizzou try to make up that type of production from your sacks leader who had 9 sacks last year? We shall see.
Number 3.
So Matt Nagy's out of a contract. You could bring him back. He could get a head coach job somewhere, or you could just decide, you know what, let's get a new OC in. And the Chiefs, well, they have options out there. There's one that could be kind of obvious. Is it the right fit? Who knows? But how would you feel about Cliff Kingsbury reuniting with Patrick Mahomes? They obviously lit it up in college. Could they light it up with the Chiefs? I don't know. Maybe a possibility that we'll talk about later.
Number 4.
Oh, I shanked it.
Other Kansas City sports news from the weekend. Royals extended the contract of manager Matt Quattrero through the 2029 season. There's a club option as well for 2030. Look, stability's good. I think you're in a good direction, and so you don't mess with it. Matt Quattrero's done a solid job, I think, as the manager. We'll see if they can get back to the playoffs this year, but I think a good move by the Royals right now.
Number 5.
What did the 5 fingers say to the face? Slap!
We bleeped on Tom Brady for doing it the wrong way. I think we should praise Matt Ryan for doing it the right way.
That's The Big Show's Top 5 at 5 on KTGR.
875 KTGR. I guess what I mean by that, if you haven't seen the news, is that Matt Ryan is probably, he's strongly considering it and probably going to take a front office job with the Falcons to try to help build up the organization that he spent most of his career with as a player, and obviously, strong connections to that area and wants to build up that franchise. But there was a question of, okay, can he keep his job with CBS Sports? He's been in the studio the whole time. And I think they had him on a game this past weekend. So like, can he do both? It looks like he won't do both. If he takes the Falcons job, he will not stay with CBS Sports, which might be a bummer. Like I liked him when he was on, but like, I think that's the way you should do it. You should eliminate all kinds of conflicts of interest when it comes to you taking a high level position within an NFL organization. And obviously when you work as a broadcaster, you get all kinds of different access, and it makes everyone so on edge as to whether you're gaining an unfair edge for your own benefit or for your own team's benefit. And so I think Matt Ryan's doing it the right way. Tom Brady, on the other hand, I don't know.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, I guess it's just he's Tom Brady, so he gets away with it. It is uncomfortable that is still a situation, but like you said, he's not really looking to have his cake and eat it too. He's looking to do both, and nobody's to this point told him that he can't. So that'll probably just continue.
It's also odd that Troy Aikman's like helping the Dolphins with their GM search, which is kind of out of the blue. It's like, I don't even know the direct connection between the two camps. It's like, it's all kind of odd. It's not like he's getting a job with them. He's just helping them out, I guess. But I don't know. Bottom line, Matt Ryan, I think I would wish him well with the Falcons if he takes that job. Would miss him on TV, but that would be the right thing to do. In the meantime, the right thing to do for us always is talk about what's good, bad, and ugly from NFL weekends that just concluded. Even the, let's face it, mostly ugly ones, and that is Week 18. A lot of games that were hard to watch. But call or text us with what you thought was good, bad, and ugly. 573-875-KTGR. And yes, the Chiefs-Raiders game, the entire thing. Pick it up, put it in the ugly bin. All of it. Everything.
It didn't look good on the box score. I didn't watch any of it, but it didn't look good in terms of the way that the box score broke down. So I think that's probably a fair assessment.
Oh, watching it was even worse.
Oh, I can't.
You did it right.
You're brave.
And look, I was brave just to have it on in the background, I think, just to check in every once in a while. Oh, okay. No touchdowns yet? Okay, cool. Oh, a safety is going to be the difference. Great. Love that. 8 combined field goals and a safety between these two teams. Sounds about right. How things have gone for both of them. But, yeah, that was ugly. Was anything good? Were you impressed by anything in Week 18?
It's so difficult because there were so few games that had relevance, and I'm thinking through the teams that won those games of relevance. I don't want to credit the Steelers. I think it was more about the Ravens. The Ravens seemingly agreed with that in firing John Harbaugh. I don't really want to credit the Panthers. They don't win their game, and yet they win the division. So, that's what's the point there? I will just say it's Seattle, and, the Seahawks dominant on defense. I think offensively they'll be okay. It was not a great performance offensively, but it suited the game script. It never felt like they were going to lose that game. So I would say Seattle would be the one team that I would really say good. And it's hard to take away a lot from Week 18 and the other games that didn't matter. Sure, we could come up with some that we, kind of looking ahead to next year. But yeah, I would say the Seahawks.
Well, certainly them. And most teams that had to lock up a seed or lock up a division mostly didn't mess around. Certainly in the noon and 325 windows, we didn't see any shockers there. So, that's at least a testament to the team that was favored to win there, and they didn't mess around. So teams like the Patriots and the Jaguars and the Bills, even though they were resting Josh Allen, Mitch Trubisky looked good, 4 touchdowns. It's, pretty good. Jets secondary, though. Jets defense was pretty awful this year. 0 interceptions all season long for the Jets defense in 17 games.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And they faced Tua Tagovailoa twice.
Faced him twice. That's pretty nuts. Yeah. No, I there were some good results, but I'm not going to go out of my way to give credit for Matt Stafford. He was stat padding to win the MVP. I think it's going to work. I don't know, based on the way the odds broke down. I don't agree with it.
I just hear the bitterness in your voice, though, with the whole.
No, it's ridiculous. Anybody can throw 4 touchdowns on Arizona. Ridiculous that is the way that ends up going. I'll say this, though, for the Patriots and Drake May, Vrabel, I think, a little selfish. Because while Matt Stafford is stat padding over the Arizona Cardinals to try to boost his MVP resume, we see the Patriots rush for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Drake May doesn't have any involvement in those scores, so he's not stat padding. The team did great scoring all those points, but it doesn't help Drake May's MVP cause because they didn't give him any little kind of goal line jump throws or anything to kind of pad the stats. And so the way that this ends up working is the voters will go, okay, Matt Stafford MVP, but we got to give the Patriots something. Let's give Vrabel Coach of the Year. And that's what they're going to do.
Oh, man.
Ridiculous.
I do agree that's ridiculous, but
we should not be swayed on MVP, and maybe the voters won't be, but the odds makers seem to think that they would be because May was a heavy favorite, and then now he's not because of 1 week of meaningless football.
It shouldn't be based on that, though, right? Like,
I don't know.
It shouldn't be.
Awards markets are the one thing that, like, when the odds move, you kind of don't know what to think of it because it's really going to come down to the voters.
Yeah.
But I think you look at the raw stats of Matt Stafford and go, oh, my gosh, he's so old. He's played really well. Yeah, sure, the Rams didn't even win their own division, but let's just give it to him because he's got good numbers.
Hey, yeah, I understand. Maybe we should just give the MVP of the Rams to Harrison Mevis instead. Bryce texting in, thicker kicker. He had 3 field goals.
Yep.
Couple 40-plus yarders, and he's gonna
be a weapon in the playoffs. I hope they trust him as one because he'll go for a lot of those 4th downs. But there'll be a moment, hopefully, where he's got to kick a 55-yarder and he's going to knock it through.
Can't wait for that. Call or text us with your good and bad and downright ugly from NFL Week 18, 573-875-KTGR here on The Big Show if you want to weigh in. So, I mean, now it's just a whole bunch of ugly, and certainly ugly when you learn about the coach firings. It's never a good day. But what are like, if you had to put good and bad and ugly coach openings right now in the NFL, what bins would you put them in? I guess we start with the Titans first, in honor of producer Billy, I suppose. He will rejoin us, by the way. I'm not saying that. But, like, Titans first. Good, bad, or ugly job?
You theoretically have your quarterback in Cam Ward, but I still think it's a bad job. Like, I don't know really what else they have going for them, and they've had it seems like years of front office issues where they can't really all get on the same page. And so it's also kind of relatively speaking, I think there are other jobs out there that are more attractive. So I know that it's ugly, but it's bad.
So I think it leans more bad than good. I mean, certainly need to see how Cam Ward recovers. Injury expert Will Carroll didn't seem to think it was all that optimistic that maybe they were making it out to be. So it's obviously crucial to see how he can recover for 2026. The fact that Brian Callahan only lasted a little bit of time there, though, at a place where you shouldn't get a whole lot of attention. Like, you can fly under the radar, but the most recent coach that got the chance to do that couldn't. And so, yeah, you feel like something's holding you back there. So I would kind of agree that I would lean more towards the bad category, even though you see the opportunity of like, oh, hey, Cam Ward, he was a former number 1 overall pick, but you can't choose him. He's chosen for you already. So you have to find a way to make it work with him for at least the next couple of seasons. So, yeah, I'd say bad for that one, too. What about the Cardinals? Good job.
I think that's a good one.
Okay.
I think it's a good opening because you've got, like, some options on what you want to do. You can decide that you think highly of Kyler Murray and you're the one that can fix him, or you can decide, hey, we're looking for a quarterback, but we've got some other pieces that are intriguing to be able to build around. The downside to the job is the strength of the division. It's a loaded division. I mean, you've got 3 teams in that division who could theoretically get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think the Niners can because of their defense, but I also think that they've got a very good program that year in and year out, the 49ers are going to be in the mix. So maybe like that's the one downside to the job, but I don't know. I don't think Arizona is so bad of a job. You'll play, that 4th place schedule probably to where, maybe that gives you a boost in year 1. I don't think that's a bad one because there's some excitement to maybe what you could do with some of the possibilities there.
You have a chance at least to wiggle. I'm not saying that it was going to be at all possible this year, but like San Francisco could always have just the injuries decimate them again, or they decide that they maybe have to move on from players that they can't pay because they're devoting all the money to Brock Purdy now. And so like you could potentially wiggle your way past them. Who knows? But you're right. Hierarchy is tough to break through in that division. Doesn't mean that a head coach won't decide to take it on and be like, hey, it's not my money that's paying Kyler Murray to go away. I just want my quarterback. So give him to me and I'll create the winner that you have been looking for a few years now. So yeah, I kind of agree.
I don't think it's the best one, but I think it's solid.
There's upside, I think. If you're able to, maybe you get a little lucky by one of those teams again in the division being a little bit down, but the other jobs I think are maybe a little more attractive. Would the Falcons be more attractive to you think?
Not necessarily, because while you've got interesting pieces, the quarterback thing is going to be an issue. Like, do you stick with Penix, even though he's had all these injuries and didn't really show you anything when he was playing? You got the Cousins thing still kind of looming around where you kind of figure he'll be gone, but he was not worse than Penix. Like, it was definitely a team that needed to fire their coach because they should have gotten more out of it. I'll say that because of the division, it's narrowly better than Arizona. I think it's a solid job. I think Arizona's a solid job. I'll lean toward the Falcons' jobs simply because I think you've got more maneuverability in the NFC South versus the West, where the Rams aren't going anywhere unless McVay leaves, which could happen at some point. He just gets tired of it and leaves and goes to TV. Impressed by McDonald out in Seattle. They don't have the best quarterback in the NFL, but they've got a solid one and they've got a solid offense and their defense is nasty. The Niners, as long as Shanahan's there, will be tough. So yeah, I think I'll lean that there's just a little bit more room for growth, I think, for the Falcons than what the Cardinals probably have. I don't think that many of these jobs are terrible. But I would put Falcons above Arizona a little bit.
Raiders is the worst job.
That one's terrible. That one's ugly.
That one's in the ugly category.
Wouldn't want anything to do with it, and I don't think we have to explain why.
Browns?
I think Stefanski's a good coach. And they didn't get it done with him there. I'm calling it ugly. I'm calling it ugly. I don't know if it's bad, but it is ugly. I would not want to be there. I just don't think you can succeed in Cleveland. You've got to have a really special plan to be able to figure it out. And so maybe it's going to take somebody with that ego that's like, I'm the one. But I saw they were talking about Jim Schwartz and they're just not going to get it done without an outrageously good hire. And if you're an outrageously good hire, why would you go to Cleveland if you've got other options? So I'll put Cleveland below Falcons and Arizona. I don't think it's as bad as the Raiders. But it might even be better than the Titans. The Titans is just very blah to me. But the Cleveland, I think you've got a lot of headache, which is why you would probably say ugly, right? You've got 10 quarterbacks, and you don't really think any of them are great. There'll be this expectation now that Shedeur Sanders gets another year, and he played fine. But, that's a headache in and of itself. I don't think you come into that job with a lot of free reign, right? You're going to have some things probably told to you or dictated to you about the most important position on your team, and that's tough. So I think it's down toward the bottom of the list, yeah.
All right. Out of the 2 jobs that are left, Ravens I think is the best job. You think? I think so.
I'm not sure. I think it's a good job. And they obviously had stability with their last coach, but there's like an emphasis on not bungling it at this point, right? Like if you're going to fire John Harbaugh after 18 years, you're firing a very good coach. So like the guy to follow in those footsteps, is there a little bit of a, I honestly think I think the Giants job is a really good job. I would rather take the Giants job than the Ravens job right now because I believe in Jackson Dart. I think they're on the come. Malik Neighbors, like you've got that connection, and throw Scadaboo in there as well. From skill player standpoint, you just got to have somebody that comes in there and they build the other positions out. Their defense needs some work, but you've got some pieces there as well. I'm not sure about Lamar Jackson anymore. I think the best of Lamar Jackson is behind him, and I don't think he'll ever be that good again. I do not think he will ever be. Like, we've seen his best days. That is my hot take on it. If it
well,
like
here's
it wasn't
what
John Harbaugh's fault, right? So
I don't think I think we're closer to the end than the beginning, no doubt. But I could see one more really good year out of Lamar Jackson, and if you get that, maybe it allows you to bridge it to the next thing. I don't know. The thing about the Giants is that good skill players. They drafted well, I think, this past year. Do you trust Joe Shane, though? I don't. I don't. If I were the head coach, I'd want to pick my GM. Like, that's what I would ask. Be like, is that guy really still here?
It's fair.
No, thanks. Because, I do have a good quarterback. Let's not waste him by having terrible picks elsewhere. That's kind of what's put the Giants in the spot where they are, where they're firing their head coach again. So that's kind of where I come down on it. But, I think those are clearly two of the top three jobs. And then maybe you throw Arizona in as the third best. Or Falcons, maybe.
I'll lean Falcons as number 3. Yeah.
All right. Well, we put some in the good, some in the bad, and one very, very clear. 2, I think, in the ugly, the Browns and the Raiders. Maybe the Browns has more upside if you're able to get past the headache that ownership is, but I think it's a pretty ugly job. You tell us your good, bad, and ugly NFL jobs as they stand right now. 573-875-KTGR. And is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator job attractive enough at this point? Should it be a guy like Cliff Kingsbury, who is all of a sudden available, filling that spot? You tell us what you would think about that. 573-875-KTGR. We'll discuss it next in the Big Show and talk to Brian Smith at 5:45.
Follow The Big Show on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And keep it here on your total sports station, KTGR.
Hi, everyone. Andy Humphrey here for Advanced Tree Solutions. Maybe you're like me and you're saying, you know what? This is the year, 2026. My backyard, my front yard, they're going to look pristine. Grass, perfectly manicured, hedges, perfectly trimmed, whatever it may be. And that's all well and good, but don't forget about your trees either. And look, those lawn care companies, they might know a thing or two about trees here and there, but they're not experts. Eric and his team at Advanced Tree Solutions, they're the experts. No one else in Columbia, Fulton, or Jefferson City takes care of your trees better, and no one can do it with the type of care and honesty and approach that Eric and his team has. Every time you work with him, you'll walk away knowing that your trees are getting the best care possible. So whatever it is, tree pruning for the winter, tree removal, stump grinding, so much more, call Eric and his team at Advanced Tree Solutions. Check out their full list of services and book now at AdvancedTreeSolutionsLLC.com. Give your trees the care they deserve with Advanced Tree Solutions.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sticklin-McDonald.
And I'm Charlie Sticklin with the Sticklin & Sticklin Law Firm.
And I'm Mizzou Softball's Natalie Touche. At Sticklin & Sticklin, all we do is personal injury.
We've earned millions for our clients since 1991.
On the diamond, I trust my team. Off the diamond, I trust Sticklin & Sticklin. Don't let the insurance companies strike you out. Let Sticklin & Sticklin go to bat for you. Sticklin & Sticklin, it's a home run.
Hi, we're Midway Electric. When winter hits, electrical issues can turn serious fast, at home or at your business. That's why you need a trusted local team that shows up, solves the problem, and stands behind the work. From whole home generators and security systems to everyday service and repairs, Midway Electric has you covered. And now through January, get $500 off a whole home generator installation to keep you powered up no matter the weather. Midway Electric, powered by people with pride. MidwayElectricInc.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Catherine Hanaway. When severe weather hits, scammers often follow. They may pose as charities, jack up prices on essentials, or offer fraudulent home repairs. I'm committed to protecting Missourians from those scams. If you've been targeted or suspect price gouging, report it to our office at 800-392-8222 or online at ago.mo.gov.
Paid for by the Missouri Attorney General's Office. Stop smoking with hypnosis. Only $59.99 guaranteed or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Stop smoking with hypnosis guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings. Because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Hypnosis Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn Columbia East in Columbia. Weight loss hypnosis, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking hypnosis, 8 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Your daily fix of local sports lives here. This is The Big Show on KTGR.
So tell us what was good, bad, and ugly from this past weekend in the NFL. Pretty amazing. Adam Schefter tweeting this out. In the first 45 minutes after John Harbaugh was fired this afternoon, his agent, Brian Harlan, said he received calls from 7 NFL teams expressing interest in his client.
There are 7 openings.
There are currently 7 NFL head coach openings, including Baltimore's.
Right, so there's one other.
There's at least one team that has a head coach still that was like, hey.
Name it. Yeah. Name the team, Andy. Who you got?
Who do you think it was? I think, let me take a look
Bengals.
at the list here. Oh, absolutely. Or Dolphins, I think. At least make
Bengals,
a call,
division
right?
rival. They know the ins and outs of how Harbaugh operates, and they're like, "Dude, our guy's a chump."
Yeah.
Did you hear him whining about them stopping the play for Myles Garrett's sack? Yeah, we would trade our guy for that guy. I bet it's the Bengals, dude. That would be
hilarious.
Fascinating.
Colts, maybe? Think the Colts did? I actually think that'd be a pretty good fit for Harbaugh.
Are they getting rid of their guy? I think they like their guy.
No, they're not getting rid of him, Shane Steichen. I mean, I don't think he's that bad either, but I just think in the nature of the business, when a guy like John Harbaugh becomes available, I think that makes like half the NFL teams reevaluate.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
It could be a team that has a solid coach that we wouldn't even be thinking of, but that team is just smart enough to recognize that if you can improve, then you ought to.
Or a team like Washington who just said goodbye to both coordinators today. Like,
yeah, and here's another angle. It could be a playoff team whose coach is planning to retire or leave, and they already know it in that building. And they're like, that wouldn't shock me necessarily either. I don't know who that would be off the top of my head.
Well, hopefully not Andy Reid. Not
playoff team.
Oh, okay, sure, true.
The Chiefs are not one of those.
I got jumped the gun on that.
Like every year there's the will Sean McVay leave thing, and if the Rams internally, let's just say they knew. I'm not saying I have any reason to believe this will be the year, but they knew this is his last year. We're just keeping it hush hush. You would call because you're like, we're gonna have to hire somebody, and that you tell Harbaugh, hey, if you like the situation here, just chill. We don't, we got a playoffs to do here first. That kind of idea.
It is interesting. Wonder who that other team was. And I'm sure that it wasn't just one other team that has a current head coach. that is at least thinking about it and maybe reaching out at some point. We shall see.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when a guy like John Harbaugh becomes available. So it'll be he'll be the first one that gets another job. I think the next one will be Kevin Stefanski, and then we'll see what other coordinators or recycled head coaches get chances after that. Saw a report
saying that Jason Garrett is interviewing with the Titans.
Just saw that.
Yeah. Told you that was a bad job because if that's where you're turning.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's not a great look when it comes to that. And maybe if they really don't think they want to try the Matt Nagy train again, not necessarily them doing it again, but like give Matt Nagy another chance to be an NFL head coach, which actually I would like to at least see it again.
I have no feelings toward it.
Could he have been? Well, here's the thing. He actually won with Mitch Trubisky. He didn't win with Justin Fields. And now that we've seen Justin Fields go to a bunch of other teams and not win, was it more about him than about Matt Nagy? Possibly. Just throwing that out there.
No.
They had winning records with before they got Justin Fields in the room with Matt Nagy there. Made the playoffs with him.
I think Nagy was a disaster as a head coach. I'm not going to relitigate his time. But it would have to be somewhere like the Titans where you feel like you don't have a lot of big-time candidates, not beating the door down to interview. So,
well, either way, the Chiefs either have to decide, okay, should we bring him back or should we look elsewhere for an offensive coordinator? And look, Cliff Kingsbury's available.
Yeah.
They just parted ways in Washington, and the other coordinator also got let go, so they're kind of starting anew there. And Cliff Kingsbury has some history with Patrick Mahomes. Brought him to Lubbock and got him at least to a point where he was drafted 10th overall. He wasn't like I don't even know if he was the best college quarterback when he was playing at Texas Tech, but very clearly the Chiefs saw what he was capable of, and they've brought it out to pretty much the fullest extent. It's worked out for him. Do they bring in, potentially, the guy that was with him as his head coach at Texas Tech and have that type of reunion? Would you want that as a Chiefs fan?
I can't think of a more obvious, better candidate. And Cliff Kingsbury has been good as an OC. This year you lose your quarterback, Jaden Daniels, and their defense was terrible. So that was more, I think, the problem for Washington this year.
Yeah, it's tough to evaluate this year as a whole with everything that was going on in the off. And it wasn't just Jaden Daniels that got hurt. Like Terry McLaurin was hurt a lot of the year, and like you opened the season losing Austin Eckler, and then there were you trade away Brian Robinson. So like you're revamping the running back room with some younger guys that are more unproven. I'm not saying they were bad. I'm just saying that it's tough to get something going that way. And so like largely that was up against you. And then, when you're in a game and you feel like you have to score 30 to win, then that can be weighing on you as well. So does that mean you look more at what Cliff Kingsbury did with Jaden Daniels and company in 2024 and say, okay, that's actually what I believe he is? Or do you go in with trepidation based on what's most recent and how Washington clearly feels about him?
Yeah, I think I'll look at the good that he did when he had a weapon at quarterback, because we know he would with the Chiefs.
Yeah, it's now. Does Patrick Mahomes desire that? Does Andy Reid desire that?
Yeah.
Put yourself in Patrick Mahomes' shoes for a second. Would you lobby for it, or would you think that do you want to have that be hanging over everything? Like, oh, Mahomes' buddy from college is coming in, and
I don't know. I don't think they're in a position to turn their nose at it with the way things just went for them.
I would still look at how are you going to evolve this run game? Like, I'm not worried about, at least right now, I'm not all that worried about Mahomes' ability to throw the ball. Not all that worried about getting guys open. But I am worried about how you build your foundation for running the football, which is ultimately what Andy Reid's offense has wanted to do. But I think and certainly in the last couple of years, just has not had the personnel capable of doing it to a dangerous degree where opposing defenses have to make that adjustment. So I think that's still the question that has to be answered. If Cliff Kingsbury has the answer, great. But I don't know if you just bring him in because he worked with Patrick Mahomes as he was a college quarterback.
Yeah, but I also think that we've acknowledged that with Andy Reid, the offense does need to change. And so if you bring in somebody that has more of a unique spin and more of a personality, more of a say-so, and you're Andy Reid and you kind of allow that to happen, maybe you can evolve the offense. The Chiefs passing game has not been, for having the best quarterback in the world, has not been this crazy productive unit. At times it looks very stale. And so I don't know necessarily that it would be the worst thing in the world. Maybe not even specifically because of the Texas Tech connection, but just because of what Cliff Kingsbury has done in other spots. I do look at the Jaden Daniels year, and I do look at, I'd say early in his Arizona tenure, you had some good things going on with Kyler Murray. So I would say from that standpoint, it would certainly signify a change, I think, from just kind of oh yeah, Matt Nagy's the offensive coordinator, but it's really Andy Reid's offense. Maybe let somebody with more of a voice and personality be able to come in and put their spin on it.
573-875 KTGR. Chiefs fans, how would you feel about potentially Cliff Kingsbury being the Chiefs' next offensive coordinator? I think it would certainly be an upgrade for Matt. Are we saying for sure that they just need somebody new? That
I think something has to change.
You think so?
And it may not be Matt Nagy's fault, but again, if it was just he was kind of the placeholder, and really it's more about Andy Reid. If Andy Reid recognizes, yeah, man, it hasn't been working that great. I don't want to squander Patrick Mahomes and while he's still in his prime. Let's bring in somebody that's going to challenge me. I don't know that would be the worst thing in the world.
That is what kind of has to be the Band-Aid that's been ripped off, because when Matt Nagy left Chicago and just assimilated right back into Kansas City, wasn't even the OC right away as he came back. I think he was just coaching quarterbacks at that point, or some sort of offensive assistant below the coordinator level. And then once Bieniemy leaves, they decide to elevate him again. I'm not saying it was charity, but it kind of felt that way, So maybe just a refresh on all of that. And certainly with a guy like Eric Bieniemy, when that offense certainly knew, especially with Bieniemy's background, how to get the run game going. Well, then once you lose that and you see that it goes stale, then you have to find ways to revamp. So whoever can do that, I think, needs to be the Chiefs' next offensive coordinator. And if it's Cliff Kingsbury, great. If it's somebody else that we're not even thinking about, I don't know, Todd Monken or somebody else, who knows? But to me, it does have to be an opportunity that you use to make your offense look a little bit different.
Yeah, and that's why I think the Nagy thing could use a shift, because when he came back, it was almost like get the de facto coordinator who's not going to rock the boat compared to what we do here, because he already is familiar with it from his previous stint. I think they need to go in a different direction than let's kind of keep the status quo, because I don't believe in what the status quo has produced of late.
So again, we haven't seen any kind of reported connection between the two right now, Cliff Kingsbury or the Chiefs. Just that Cliff Kingsbury is now available. If you're a Chiefs fan, would you entertain the idea of Cliff Kingsbury coming in as the next offensive coordinator? Call or text us with your thoughts on that at 573-875-KTGR. So Mizzou wrestling had a good weekend over in Iowa. 3 Tigers won their individual weights, And the Tigers came home with the team title as well with the Soldier Salute. Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach, will join us next to talk about what that means for his group as they hit 2026 competition next.
Now, your local Sports Center update on your total sports station, KTGR.
Good evening, I'm Andy Humphrey. This Sports Center update is with Lee's Tire Company. If it's round and rubber, Lee sells it. Lee'sTireCompany.com. The Mizzou football transfer portal news from the past 24 hours. Learned of a couple transfers in. Linebacker Robert Woodyard Jr. out of Auburn is committing to the Tigers. He announced that yesterday via social media. Was an all-SEC selection according to Pro Football Focus last season, recording 67 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, a couple of sacks, but will spend his final year of eligibility with Mizzou. Tigers also learned, reportedly from Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports, that Austin Simmons has signed with Mizzou from Ole Miss. He'll still stick with Ole Miss as they finish out their playoff run, but once that ends, he has officially signed on to join Mizzou's quarterback room for 2026. And Mizzou learned of a transfer out today. Damon Wilson II, their leading sack getter this past season. The defensive end is entering the transfer portal. The former Georgia D-end was also considering a move to the NFL draft. It appears that the Tigers will be losing him if he decides to go back to college. ABC 17 Storm Track forecast is with API Project Fitness. Former MU football players Darrell Jackson and Michael Agnew will take your fitness to the next level. Find your fire. APIProjectFitness.com.
I'm ABC 17 Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Jessica Hafner. I'm tracking a cold night as we'll see mostly clear skies. We'll see some patchy fog developing north of Highway 24 again.
Or your money back. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all, or your money back. Stop Smoking Hypnosis, 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 3rd at the Capitol Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Jefferson City, or 8 p.m. on Wednesday, February 4th at the Holiday Inn, Columbia East in Columbia. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
From the trainers to the coaches, the equipment managers to the players and fans, it takes a whole team to be truly successful. Hi, this is Sophie Cunningham, and if you're looking for the best team of jewelers in Columbia, it's Betts. Their staff has years of experience handcrafting jewelry, and when you combine that with the newest technology, it gives Betts Jewelers the ability to truly wow their customers. So talk to the team at your hometown jeweler today. Betts Jewelers in downtown Columbia.
These beautiful moments begin at Betts. Begin at Betts.
And now the doggy dedication with Kretsch's Custom Exteriors. This week's letter comes from Coco in Columbia. Coco writes, "Dear Kretsch's, my human's been whizzing off his new deck nonstop. I've never seen him so happy. But while he's making salty lemon snow cones, I don't have a place to pee of my own. If I had a wood fence to whiz on, I could unleash my freedom stream from a three-legged lean. Well, Coco, Kretsch's Custom Exteriors can build you that fence to splatter your bladder. Kretsch's Custom Exteriors. True beauty is on the outside.
Hi, I'm David Bale, Exterior Project Specialist for True Sun Exteriors and Interiors. Unlike a lot of our competition, we have a 5-year labor warranty, which ensures that even after 1 or 2 seasons, if an issue rears its ugly head, we're going to stand behind it. Any new installation we do, which is going to be roofing, siding, decks, windows, doors, all that kind of stuff has a full 5-year labor warranty. So we're going to stand behind all of our workmanship for 5 years after the installation is complete. Let's just say hypothetically we get a storm or something and maybe something comes loose or there's some caulking that gets out of whack. We do a roof and a leak shows up a year later. Sometimes you get a weird storm. You just never know what's going to happen. Anything like that, we're going to stand behind it. We're going to take care of it.
The difference between a house and a home is the attention to detail. At True Sun Exteriors and Interiors, we'll turn your vision of a dream home into a reality. For more information or a free estimate, go to TrueSunExteriors.com.
TrueSunExteriors.com.
The best local sports talk around on your ride home. You've got The Big Show on KTGR.
Here on The Big Show, KTGR and the KTGR app, Mizzou Wrestling had an excellent weekend, taking first place at the Soldier Salute in Iowa for their first competition of 2026. 3 Tigers getting individual titles in their weights, Mac Mauger and Josh Edmond and Aiden Sinclair. And the Tigers come home with the trophy in the end after 2 great days of competition. And Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach, is here on The Big Show to talk about it. Coach, just overall, you wrestled a bunch of different guys and had a lot of success both days. How did you see your group as a whole going through that tournament style and all the levels that they were wrestling at?
Well, we've been really focused on scoring a lot of points and wrestling more, forward, aggressive, and got to see that. We brought 25 wrestlers up there to compete. I think we had 8 or 9 in the finals, so that was good. A lot of them placing, but more importantly, scoring points, getting after it. So pleased with the weekend.
And certainly you talk about aggression and the importance of getting those bonus point victories. Is that the main thing that you try to preach, just the aggression factor when you are trying to have them get those types of victories? Or how does that come about for them as the season goes along, as they wrestle more and more matches?
It's just scoring points. It's if you're just when you watch some wrestling matches, some of them can be boring if they're not opening up and they're afraid to, take risk. And we want our guys to get after it and take risks. When I say risk, it's calculated ones, but wrestling more to score. And when you wrestle that way, you take people out of their game plans that, don't want to wrestle that way. And the more you can score, the more you can score for your team too. And especially in these tournaments, we put up a lot of bonus points. Somebody like, Aiden Sinclair had 2 tech balls and a pin. Even Mac Mauger got some bonus point matches. So it was just, seeing the bonus points is going to help our team, but it's also going to separate you when you get to the national tournament and, you're winning those matches, that normally you're winning 3-2. If you can open it up and win 10-2, you're dominating and advancing.
Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach, here on The Big Show, KTGR. And you mentioned both Sinclair and Mauger, and then also Josh Edmond, who got an individual title in his weight. So it's not just about, getting those bonus point victories, but also just advancing through the bracket so you can continue to earn points for your team that way. And just how those 3 were able to wrestle both days to get all the way to the end and claim the titles. Just how did you see all 3 of them competing in their individual matches?
Well, the great thing of Mac and Aiden is they're freshmen. They redshirted last year and had, good moments last year. And we knew they were going to get better and better, and they do. They get in the practice room, those 2, and just every week you see improvement. Aiden Sinclair just keeps jumping levels. I mean, he's ranked 2nd in the country right now. We were hoping the starter from Iowa, would be there, and they held him out because they have a duel in a week or so. So we were a little frustrated by that, but he stepped on the mat, and whoever he wrestled, he dominated. And for Mac, at 125, he just keeps growing and getting better. The young man that he beat from North Carolina was at the tournament last year, and that's who he lost to in the finals at the buzzer. So to go out there and beat him this year 7-2 was just good. Is it, redemption or whatever? Yes, I guess a little, but it just shows that he's improving, and that's exciting. And Josh has really been one of our, besides Aiden, one of our most consistent wrestlers this year. He is, I think, had an overtime loss and a loss at the buzzer. Other than that, I think he's like 14 or 15-2, and just consistently just keep getting better and better and scoring points and winning.
Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach here on the Big Show KTGR. And even some of the wrestlers, they were able to advance to their championship matches. Guys like Seth Mendoza, Teague Travis, who it was in his first competition for you since coming over from Oklahoma State. Max Mayfield, just other guys that were able to build up that team point total for you by getting as deep into this bracket as they could. Just to have the overall effort there, what did it mean for your guys to be able to have so many of their teammates to be supporting on the final day as they wrestle in that tournament?
Yeah, and we lost some tough matches. At 33, Gage Walker, who's started for us at 125 last year, was at 33 and loses a tough one to a highly ranked kid from North Carolina, 4-2. And then you had Seth Mendoza, who was in the finals with Josh, and I didn't wrestle him because in college wrestling, when you wrestle your teammate, the matches don't count.
Yeah.
So it was just, they see each other every day in the practice room. So we just advanced Josh, and Seth's redshirting this year. But Seth tech-falled his way or pinned I think he tech-falled the number 30th ranked guy in 2 minutes in the semifinals. I mean, he is an impressive freshman. And then T goes out there and makes the finals and beats some good people, but then loses to the 12th ranked wrestler from Iowa in a tough battle. So it's just, for us, it gives us something to work with. And then at 65, we were in a tight match. It was actually a 0-0 match, and we hurt our ankle. And so that was a little frustrating for Max because he was right there to beat a really tough wrestler. And then at 197, we lose to the 5th ranked wrestler in the country. Really, at the buzzer, it was a 1-1 match, and we gave up a takedown, and then he put us on our back. But it was a back and forth match. We were in on the leg a bunch, and Evan Bates, and just couldn't finish those takedowns. But we got to see the Wyoming wrestler, who's an All-American, who's 5th in the country, and we're right there with him. We just got to figure out how to finish those takedowns.
For sure, Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach here on the Big Show. And you mentioned him and so many of the other wrestlers that you get another look at. And these are high-level guys, and there are a bunch of high-level schools at this competition, as you've mentioned. Just to be able to get another rep against those type of wrestlers as you head on into this 2026 schedule here, what's kind of the main thing that you now have learned a little more about your group as they go up against those guys and they try to keep the book on how they can wrestle them the next time around?
Well, it's what's happening is they're starting to know their identity, and I know that sounds like a catchphrase, but it's true. As a season progresses, you know what works for you, you know what positions you need to be in, and what you need to work on to improve that. And at this point in the season, those guys are further along than they were in the beginning, and it's just now you got to keep executing what's working and growing in the areas where you need to. And they're doing it. They're doing it, and I'm excited. We have a couple tough duels coming up of teams that are in the conference, Utah Valley and Arizona State. Arizona State has a bunch of guys that, 3 or 4 guys that are highly ranked. So some big matchups for some of our guys. And I know Utah Valley has a few guys that are ranked too. So these are matches we got to go down and get team wins, but also pull off some big wins individually and keep moving up in the rankings. So that's what we're looking for this next semester. It's still, our schedule doesn't get much easier because I know we have in the future here, Okie State and Oklahoma and Iowa State, West Virginia, all those teams are ranked pretty high. So it'll be some tough sledding as they say, but it's definitely our guys are ready for it.
Certainly so. And again, those duels will be coming up next week. Tigers will go and visit Arizona State on Thursday, January 15th, and then stay on the road Saturday to take on Utah Valley at 8 p.m. that Saturday night, both in Big 12 play. So the Tigers trying to get ready for those road duels in the meantime, and great to see the results from the Soldier Salute this past weekend as the Tigers take home the title, 3 individual Tigers winning their weights. And great to catch up with Brian Smith, Mizzou wrestling coach here on the Big Show KTGR. Coach, thanks for taking the time. Congrats on the wins this past weekend, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Andy.
It's the Big Show on KTGR and the KTGR app, and kind of hard to believe, but there isn't all that much season left for Mizzou wrestling. Still a couple more months, but only 8 more duels, 7 of them in conference, and only 3 of them at the Hearn Center in Columbia. So you're running out of chances to see them here in town if you want to go and check them out. January 23rd, that's a Friday. They'll take on Oklahoma State. Then Sunday, January 25th, they host Northern Colorado. And then the last one at the Hearn Center for the year is on February 12th. That's a Thursday when they host Oklahoma. So if you want to go check out Tiger Style Wrestling, those are your 3 remaining chances for the season. So we'll see how the Tigers are able to do coming off of a great weekend from the Soldier Salute this past weekend. They'll go on the road to Arizona State and Utah Valley next week. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks also to the injury expert, Will Carroll, for coming on earlier. We'll see you tomorrow at 4 o'clock. He's Brendan. I'm Andy. We're done for now.